Modern data platform, IoT and the cloud, and how this dynamic trio is enabling virtual clinical trials during COVID-19. So a little bit about myself. I am the Vice President and Global Chief Data Officer at ERT. I have been in the industry for over 20 years. My expertise lies in building distributed systems, platforms, and applications using modern architecture, distributed computing, and cloud computing. In my current role at ERT, I oversee the global data architecture, integration, and data science. A little bit about the company, ERT, E-Research Technology. We are a global data and technology company that minimizes risk and uncertainties in clinical trials so that our customers can move ahead quickly with confidence. We are global. We are the global market leader in ECOA, respiratory and efficacy and safety services. We also have product lines including imaging and wearables. We have about 3,000 employees globally. We have been operating in 12 countries and have been active in 128 countries running trials. Our platform supports about 114 languages. About 74% of the new drug approval in 2019 were supported by ERT. So that's a very, very big statistics. So we have been running, as you can see, 619 drug approvals, 30 therapeutic areas. Currently, we have been running 1,500 active studies, 230,000 sites, 5 million patients, 200 active customers. And up until now, over the past 50 years or so, we have executed about 15,000 clinical trials. Now, the agenda that I am thinking of going through with you, time permitting, is we are going to talk about industry challenges and opportunities. We are also going to touch upon our platform that in the cloud, modern data platform, and AI, particularly citing some example use cases that my team has been working on, including virtual trials. And then we are going to touch upon a little bit on the architecture. So let's dive into the industry challenges. As you know, clinical trials is never a straight line from start to finish. It's always full of risks and uncertainties. It goes ebbs and flows. As you can see, some of the statistics at the bottom right-hand corner, at less than 10% of clinical trials end on time. 48% of sites under-enroll subjects or volunteers. 30% average patient dropout rate. Just because they're enrolling does not mean, they are staying throughout the duration of the trials. About 30% of patients drops out. And it takes about 10 to 12 years and costs about $1 billion to launch a drug. And less than 10% compound advance to FDA approval. So these statistics are dismal. And then on the left-hand side, the complexity of clinical trial has been increasing steadily. 58% increase in sites per trial, 71% increase in average number of endpoint data collection systems. And usually you have 5 to 12 systems per global study that you have to integrate to really gather data from. And then we are seeing in the life sciences industries in general, an exponential data growth. The data volume has been increasing because more types along with more endpoints. Obviously, velocity has been increasing because the digitization has increased the speed of information, lots of sensors, mobile health devices, you name it. And then obviously variety of data is also increasing. There you have clinical data, you have compliance data, you have medical data, you have real world evidence data, you have data coming from actimetry, you name it. So not only the information is structured, it is also sometimes unstructured, sometimes semi-structured, and even many times it is even binary as well, such as videos, imaging. They're all a part of clinical trial, but the data is binary in nature. And then obviously to gain insight, you have to align all these data together, which has always been a great challenge. Let's talk about a little bit about virtual trials. That is been adding more complexity to this whole clinical trial ecosystem. So just why virtual visits now suddenly? As we all know, because of COVID-19, I think patients can't come to the sites that often. So as you can see, 59% of patients are willing to use virtual visits. So instead of patients coming to the sites, site personnel are using remote technologies, and patients are using remote technologies as well to communicate, to submit diaries, to administer their drugs, for patient engagement, et cetera, et cetera. So virtual trial, the concept has been around for a long time, but it has really expedited. It has gained traction, as they say, because of this pandemic. So what does that mean? Like, as you know, from sponsors' point of view, from pharmaceutical companies' point of view, they need safer trials, efficient sites, shorten the timeline. Instead of 10 to 12 years, can they shorten the timeline so that they can bring life-saving drugs and therapies to the market quicker, regulatory adherence, engaged patients. And then in the new world, you continue to need engage and retain those patients who are being a part of the clinical trials. You need to really visualize the data and the results and the risks in one place. And obviously, most of the trials are global in nature. That even poses additional challenges. So think about a typical patient participation to a site during a clinical trial, right? So drives to a clinical clinic for an appointment, arrives at the clinic, goes to the reception, waits there, fill out some paperwork, receives treatment, consultation, and clinician, all those things, and then drive back home. And our statistics show that over 70% of patients leave 2 hours away from a site. So it's a and do all the administration that you need to do. Uh, so if you go to the new way is patient completes all diaries and information at home on handheld, and that data gets streamed into a centralized data store. And then obviously consultations and site assessments, everything happens virtually. So flexible choices to suit patients' needs. So it fits with modern lifestyles and expectations. So it minimizes site visits, and it's the less time that they have to spend at site, and obviously more convenience. And we recently did a survey, and here are some of the things that we found out. Top 3 issues keeping you up at night, that is particularly talking to our customers like pharmaceutical companies, biotechnology companies, CROs, contract research organizations. 79%, they say screening new patients is a big deal. site engagement 61%, completing data or for existing trials 56%. And biggest issue impacting trials in the next 6 to 12 months is trial management, patient recruitment and enrollment, patient compliance and retention. And then we also asked how are or how will you collect data in virtual trials? 75% patients using devices to enter on the portal, using telehealth to meet with site personnel instead of visiting to the site, and 48% capturing data from sensors like Fitbit, you name, Apple Watch, you name it. And most important lesson from COVID-19, 25% say implement virtual technologies, 18% say open-minded, flexible, and 11% is just innovate. So innovate in technology, innovate process, you name it. And then 88% of patients willing to use a smartphone during clinical research. As you can see, 99% use a smartphone, 78% use their smartphone at least every hour. So that's, you see the trend here. Similarly, 96% of patients surveyed would be willing to use a fitness watch or share data for research purposes. So that thing is also evolving dramatically. 31% use a fitness watch, 12% check their fitness watch at least every hour. 96% would be happy to use a fitness watch during clinical research. And then 59% would be happy to have a virtual visit, instead of going to a doctor for a clinical visit. It's all because of convenience. So if we were to summarize, more immediate and convenient, especially if the cause is something minor, such as a cold, then why go all the way to a doctor's visit? Save money on gas. Most of my issues can be discussed over video and would save me the time. No waiting in the waiting rooms with a bunch of sick patients. Sometimes it's not physically possible for me to get myself to the clinic. Think about oncology patients, terminally ill patients. They don't have the energy to drive 2 hours to a clinical site to participate within a clinical trial. So virtual trials, for many therapeutic areas are really gaining traction. And we have, we'll just talk about a little bit about the capabilities that we have. Obviously, ERT has been collecting data outside of site visit for a bunch of years, so it's nothing new to us. And effective virtual trial enablement requires collaboration and planning between all trial stakeholders. So stakeholders are site, you have patient, you have sponsors, you have CROs, and then obviously, as a third party, folks like companies like ourselves. So all, and then our different kinds of vendors, they're all a part of the ecosystem, clinical trial ecosystem and stakeholders. So basically engage and retain patients is a big deal. Visualize data and results as I stated, and support studies globally. So virtual technologies are enabling all these things beautifully. Virtual trial capabilities, as you can see, learn more and join the study. If you can just think about a workflow here, all these devices are talking to each other and getting things done virtually. So you just sign up and then you just collect data, you watch a integrated wearable device, or you can have your own, bring your own device, or we can provision our device to you as a patient. So and all the video call with the medical staff, real-time study insights, receive notifications and motivational messages. So all these things can be integrated together to really present the virtual trials capabilities. And we are in a perfect spot to drive this, given the expertise we have, not only in the data collection stage, but also in enabling virtual trial dashboards. And we'll talk about a few of those use cases. Obviously, we can have provision devices, you can use web, you can use combination of any devices and that the patient wishes. And obviously, we have site-facing products, we have patient-facing products, and enabling at-home video consultations between patients and investigative site. We are simplifying participation in clinical trials and post-approval studies, improving patient engagement and study continuation. And obviously, you know, our links are secured, compliant, and clinical trial-ready technology. You know, from patient perspective, the same thing is they access the app, and invite for consultation. This is just a workflow for the patient. So this is the patient perspective of the virtual trial. And then we have the site perspective of the virtual trial. So if I were to just summarize all these challenges, you know, these are the big 4 buckets. One is obviously disparate data sources, right? Multiple data sources, multiple devices, multiple data types, mobile health wearables, as we just saw. And then obviously global nature of trials, multiple vendors, multiple stakeholders, complexity of the protocol, because protocols are increasingly getting complex, and then obviously virtual trials. So that's like all you know, data collection related complexity. And then obviously you have to integrate that data at scale as well. So, and then that data integration and insight has to be real time. So we are seeing like lack of real time access to integrated information, lack of data governance, difficult to identify issues and resolve them in real time, lack of visibility into actions being taken to address issues, because there are so many vendors and so many systems and they don't talk to each other. So once an issue is resolved within one system, you know, does not get translated back into the other system. So lots of inefficiencies. And then obviously that breeds data quality issues during data collection. Patient compliance issues, site compliance issues, query resolution takes longer, visit compliance issues. And then obviously there's a very regulated industry, so oversight and monitoring is a paramount importance. Oversight of the study, oversight of the vendors, oversight of the CROs, monitoring risk before they become risk preemptively. That's where we'll talk about predictive algorithm and AI and alerting on adverse events. So if you take all these things collectively, there are obviously tons of challenges to running a trial. But the companies like ourselves, as you will see, we have a scalable platform that can ingest data of any type coming to it at any velocity. And then we have real-time dashboards that our customers use to really view. It's almost like a command center for clinical trials. And then they use to monitor the risks before they become risks in a preemptive manner. So with that, you know, our customers are really seeing all this. They're like drowning in data, but information is key. So high quality data generates good information. So that's where the scale of the platform comes into picture, where you can bring all the data together from various systems, including wearables and streaming data, you name it, structured, unstructured, binary together, and then really alleviate the administrative burden to extract and re-enter data into multiple systems, difficult to filter out noise, to identify real issues that require attention. More effort is spent confirming the accuracy of data than interpreting it for decision making. Obviously, that generates cost overrun and delay to time to market. So that's why our customers are crying out for help, and then they're just saying, can you simplify the complex? So let's talk a little bit about our modern architecture. How are we simplifying some of this? So it's all about increasing operational efficiency, speed, quality, and insights. It boils down to these 4 or 5 business drivers. Obviously, cost savings is a big part of it. When you are running a trial efficiently, by design, you are saving cost, you are reducing the clinical trial timeline, as we talked about. And this is helping not only the sponsors and the pharmaceutical companies, it is also helping the patients because the drugs are coming to the market quicker. It is not taking 10 to 12 years. So let's talk a little bit about our architecture. So our architecture is very scalable, as I have been talking about. So it has hooks of structured data, it has hooks for unstructured data, it has hooks for streaming data. They all go into a central data lake that we have built in the cloud. And then obviously we have analytics sandbox, we have persistent data store, we curate the data, we enrich the data. We also load not only the clinical data, but also the operational data, such as customer care data, or you name it, the logistics data. So, and you pull all that information together and then really curate it, and then create value-added data marts, sometimes data warehouse, depending on the business use case. Sometimes OLAP Cube, sometimes you just generate operational BI, sometimes you do data science, depending on your use case. That could be automation related, that could be optimization related, that could be predictive in nature. And then obviously self-service BI, where customers can use our tool and then create their own BI, their own custom reports. They can match and merge data set with the data set that we provide, plus they may have their own data set. They can collate them together and create custom visualization. And then obviously the entire platform is governed by data governance, because that's key, because that binds all the stakeholders together and they agree on data standards, they agree on data quality metrics, they agree on data integration rules, and all kinds of things that are all a part of the governance. So we have that cross-functional team we have built that has team members from R&D, that has team members from operations, IT, commercial, yes, study ops, you name it. So that's the collective cross-functional team providing the oversight of the quality of the data within the data lake. And that's like a critical ingredient to making a data lake successful. And then obviously our architecture is a Lambda architecture that has a speed layer and a batch layer. Speed layer ingest data real time from sensors and devices, as I showed you. And then obviously a batch layer that just collates the data together, curate it, and then serve it up to the right customers and right stakeholders. And then we have different kinds of ETL that we do, sometimes real time, sometimes batch, sometimes at scale. And then we move that, we enable our data science group so that we give them analytics sandbox and where they can really, curate the data, prepare the data before they can start applying algorithm on top of it. And then obviously analytics and visualization tool. As you can see, speed layer is a low latency data, batch layer data processing to support complex analysis. And then serving layer is what is responding to queries. And then objectives are obviously support large volume of high velocity data and near real-time analysis and persistent history. And then obviously it provides scale, it's cloud-based, obviously modern stack, governed as I said, and it enables AI and data science. So it's a modern microservices-based architecture with serverless computing, modern data management with data governance built into it. We provide data ingestion at scale. We have adapters and connectors to all third-party EDC vendors, EHR, EMR, you name it. And obviously a modern data visualization architecture with D3 and other open source libraries and all this. And it enables our customer. There are lots of benefits to that. Enables real-time decision making, self-service reporting and analytics, enables data monetization, obviously, reduces complexity and improves quality, enables data-driven decision making, and speed to market that of life-saving drugs. That's the most important and critical outcome. So speed to market, reduce the timeline of the clinical trial, and centralizes risks and performance metrics in one place, because now that all the data is in one place, that way you can correlate different data points and really preemptively measure the risks before they become real risks. And obviously, by doing all this, you become more efficient. Obviously, that saves money and operational efficiency and all this. And by enabling this data and then integrating it in one place, automatically you have a very good start for AI and ML. But as you know, data integration and data curation and data pre-processing sometimes takes 60 to 80% before a data science group can start thinking about applying AI and ML on top of the data. So it's very, very critical. So let's talk about some use cases quickly. So obviously, as I said, AI is not a hype in our case. Personally speaking, I have been doing AI for a bunch of years. Before this role, I was at eBay. I was the head of data engineering there. We did lots of AI and ML those days. And in my academic life, obviously, I researched on AI algorithms and computer simulations. Now we are really applying some of these techniques. So in this clinical trial domain, we have been applying AI across a variety of use cases, as you can see, like clinical trial optimization, like chatbot for customer care, voice bot for customer care, customer sentiment analysis, automate study design, smart data products like AI-assisted respiratory overread, AI-assisted cardiac safety overread, AI-assisted imaging overread. Similarly, we are also applying lots of automation and optimization on smart data management, like smart data cleaning apps, smart DCR analysis, automated routine data management tasks, because this is all about making the process more efficient, to run smoothly, to reduce the time of the clinical trial. And then obviously smart data package like site feasibility, patient recruitment is a big challenge. No patient, no clinical trial. So you have to make sure you enroll the patients quickly. And then not only that, once you enroll them, you have to make sure they stay engaged throughout the course of the clinical trial. So that's where I think patient, site, and sponsor. These are the three big stakeholders in a clinical trial. Another use case is recently we built a COVID-19 dashboard. As you can see, we run clinical trials globally. About 1,500 concurrent clinical studies are running on our platform, and they are dispersed globally. The clinical sites are dispersed globally. So as you can see, we already know the site location because we have integration with Google API and all this. And then we also interject and integrate that data with Johns Hopkins data, and we can really guide our patients and sites and sponsors as to what's going on. It's a hotspot or not, that kind of analysis. Comparative performance of key metrics by country and site. Currently, active COVID-19 cases by volume in relation to sites per state, per province, right? Other key performance metrics related to device, tablet, DCRs. So we can all, in virtual trials, because we have all these things going on virtually, and how are those metrics changing if the trial is not virtual, right? So we have data for both, so we can come up with a comparative study as well. And it has gotten tremendous traction from our customers because they can see just by visualizing, and obviously it has drill down capabilities and all this, where it can really go down to the zip code level even to see which site is getting affected by the pandemic. Obviously, voice-enabled bot for our internal and external customers. Currently, we are employing this chatbot and voice bot for our customer care service. That way, I think they don't have to log in into multiple systems to really solve customer care tickets. They can use the data lake. We built a chatbot and voice bot around it, so it has the intelligence to really query the right data store and then get them the answer quickly. It has really reduced our first call resolution time a lot. And obviously the data quality is also good because it is querying and the integrated and curated and validated data set from the data lake. Another one is, as I said, that's where we use predictive analytics. Like you have all this centralized, almost like a command center, where you have you are seeing the health of the study and the clinical trial on one dashboard, globally, with all kinds of metrics, compliance metrics, you name it. You have like safety metrics, you have enrollment metrics, and you can really drill down up. You can color them green, red, yellow, whatever. And so you can really drill down and really see on a real-time basis the health of your clinical trial globally. And this is huge for our large customers. Here is another great use case of integrating IoT devices. Like here is a migraine study we are integrating with Philips device. And then obviously endpoint data like ECOA, sleep, and activity analytics data. Dexcom diabetics continuous glucose monitoring is another example. As you on your right hand side, we are integrating with Actigraph. So these are all like a Fitbit type of activity monitoring, the streaming data into our platform. We are taking that data, collating with our operational and clinical study data together, and then solving a very, very tough problem here. And then obviously integrated here is a sleep activity and some kind of dashboard where you can really see correlation of activity, sleep, weather, medication use, respiratory events, interactive data visualization. You can just go through this complex journey from one central location through a dashboard. Another one is continuous glucose monitoring, where this is a Dexcom device where data is getting streamed, and that data it's coming to our platform, and we can just view it and collate them with other data, site data, patient data, you name it, and then really correlate some of those things together. So the takeaway is, as I said, it's a very complex problem. And so basically modern data platform is basically enabling us integration at scale, analytics at scale, and cloud is obviously giving us the demand, productivity, speed, efficiency, and AI is giving us automation and optimization. With that, I am going to conclude, and then I'm going to be happy to be answering any questions that you may have.